boss just ate an apple given to him by a little beggar. Unexpectedly, he paid her a full $10,000. He also kindly told her to come find him at the hotel next door if she ever ran into trouble, and promised that no one would dare bully her while selling apples there. However, he never imagined that this unintended act of kindness would save his life 10 years later. That evening, while the boss was dining, he suddenly received a phone call. He was informed that his wife had caused a car accident. He rushed to the scene. His wife, in tears, told him she was pregnant. She asked what would happen to the child if she went to prison. The boss immediately decided to take the blame for her. He also proposed divorce papers, because only this way could he protect his wife and child from his enemies while he was serving time. He then called his most trusted subordinate, John. He repeatedly reminded John to take good care of his wife and future child. John promised the boss that he would handle everything, and that his wife would be properly taken care of. The wife also tearfully swore to wait for the boss to return after his sentence. Soon after, the boss was taken away by law enforcement. He thought it was just a simple traffic case and that he would be released in a few years. But soon after entering prison, he unexpectedly heard that John was involved in illegal business outside. To ensure that this trusted man would take care of his wife and child, he took the blame for him once again, and spent a full 12 years in prison. On the day of his release, he eagerly hoped that his wife and John would be there to pick him up. However, after waiting for a long time, he saw no one, but it no longer mattered to him. The long prison life had dulled all his sharp edges. Now, he just wanted to find John and take back what belonged to him, and then reunite with his wife and child for a peaceful life. At that time, the new richest person, Anna, was excitedly heading to the prison. She was the little beggar who had been helped by the boss all those years ago. She had been searching for his whereabouts to repay his kindness. Finally, she learned that today was the day of his release. However, she suddenly received a report saying that the boss had already left the prison 2 hours early. She immediately instructed the driver to speed up toward the prison. By the time she arrived, the boss had already reached the company he founded. Before entering the door, he was stopped by the security guard. He said he was looking for the company's chairman, who was his wife, but the guard replied that the chairman was John. Just as he was confused, John appeared with a group of subordinates. The boss was about to embrace his brother affectionately, but John suddenly kicked him and yelled, "Where did this filthy beggar come from, daring to come to my company and beg?" But before he could finish, he recognized the boss. Startled, he quickly helped him up and apologized, pretending to ask why the boss didn't inform him about his release. But the boss wasn't interested in this and asked his good brother why his wife wasn't the chairman, and where his shares in the company had gone. John replied that the wife wasn't good at business and the company had already shut down. Now, he was in charge of everything. The boss realized that he had no shares left in the company, but he didn't make things difficult for John. He only wanted a place to stay and to care for his wife and child after getting out of prison. John then called over a long-haired subordinate and ordered him to find a suitable job for the boss. The long-haired man quickly invited the boss into the company. Just as the boss was about to enter, John suddenly stopped the man and said, "The company needs a guard dog at the entrance." At these words, the long-haired man immediately understood. After they left, John was excited. He eagerly awaited the boss's reaction when he saw his surprise, but the treacherous man had no idea what a tragic end he was about to face. At that moment, the richest person was on her way to the company. While the boss entered the company, the long-haired man put a security uniform on him. Seeing this, the boss could only suppress his anger. The prison life had already mellowed his temper. If this had happened before, the long-haired man would have been torn apart by him. Suddenly, the long-haired man had people hold the boss down and forced him to bow, saying that it was part of his pre-job training to bow 180 degrees to everyone. At that moment, the boss's wife entered from outside. The long-haired man quickly stood up. The wife turned and saw the boss being forced to bow. Without saying a word, she slapped the subordinate, and then slapped the long-haired man, scolding him for risking his life. She then tightly embraced the boss, excitedly saying, "You're finally out." The long-haired man, seeing this, knelt down and begged for mercy. The wife asked who he was to make the boss bow, and then slapped him again. The boss quickly stopped her, advising her to let it go. But she sat down and said the boss looked really handsome while bowing. The boss was momentarily confused, but the long-haired man immediately understood. He stood up and forced the boss to bow to the wife. The boss asked why he had to call her big sister. The wife replied that she was now married to John. This shocked the boss. Just then, John walked in. Gently caressing the wife's face, he said, "Wasn't it the boss's request for me to take good care of her? To take care of her, he just married her." The boss finally understood. During all the years in prison, he had imagined countless reunions, but never expected it to be like this. At that moment, the richest person was arriving at the company. Suddenly, an underling reported that the boss was being bullied by his old subordinates. The richest person immediately ordered her assistant to gather all her people. Inside the company, the boss could no longer bear it. Anyone would have a hard time enduring the pain of betrayal by those closest to them. And now, not only had they betrayed him, but they were also trying to humiliate him. The long-haired man pressed him to the ground and forced him to bark like a dog. John pulled out money and said, "Bark and I'll give you $100. The boss wanted to ask where his wife and child were. He planned to take them away from these two scumbags, but John suddenly revealed a secret that had been buried for years. It turned out the wife had intentionally caused the accident. Her goal was to send him to prison, and the child in her womb was also John's. They had planned it all from the start. The boss gritted his teeth in anger, but John didn't want to give him a chance for revenge. He immediately ordered his men to break the boss's limbs and throw him into a garbage dump. But just as the long-haired man was about to strike, a voice came from outside. At that moment, their good days were over.